Hey guys, this is EJ Holland with the Wolverine.com and On3, and I am here with new Michigan signee Manuel Beigel and top trainer Brandon Collier, who is worldwide, joining us all the way from Africa. Guys, really appreciate you for joining us. Before we dive into Manu's signing with Michigan, Brandon runs PPI Recruits, which is the premier program overseas. Brandon, tell us a little bit about PPI Recruits, what you kind of do, and also how you got linked up with Manu.
Yeah, man. Hello, guys. Brandon Collier, the founder of PPI Recruits, as EJ said. Yeah, PPI was founded in 2017. Really just started with the idea of trying to find the best kids around the world to help get to America to get college scholarships. So we have successfully helped over 100 kids, and I think this will be our fourth kid. Was it our third? Remember our third kid that signed with Michigan? We had Julius Welshoff, Amir Kumba, and now Manuel Beigel. It's been exciting. I mean, the journey's been great. We met mainly through Europe, but now we done ventured off into Australia. As EJ said, currently in Gambia, Africa, and looking to go all over Africa to kind of spot the best talents like Manuel. So I got introduced to Manuel by a friend of mine named Max Zahar out of Frankfurt, Germany, and just said I got a big athletic kid with these big broad shoulders that's played soccer and he's got a tremendous feet. I don't think Manuel had even played a football game at that time, and he brought him to where I lived and literally off site, man, just to see a big kid like him move. I say that kid can go to any school he want to go to type of talent, man. And of course, it was new to football, so we did a lot of training at the beginning. Started playing for a club in Bad Hamburg. Started developing, but also just the training and stuff that he had from soccer. And I taught him a lot of techniques and stuff of how to move. And most guys take a little longer to transition, but he actually did it really fast in a way the kid like that could bend at 6'5". I think he's probably 250 at that time, and he's close to 290. But man, you just seen the talent and potential. And he came to me on our Dream Chasers tour, and uh, to be honest with you, Michigan fans probably should be a little lucky, a little lucky because we a day before we was at Ohio State. It was his first day on the tour, and he was sick that day, so he threw up and couldn't finish because he was sick from the jet lag. And instead of sitting out the next day at Michigan, he decided to go, and that's kind of when his offer came. So if he would have just said, "Okay, Brandon, I'm sick. I don't feel good," which he could have, because he just was throwing up the day before, but he toughened it out and got to end up getting a scholarship for Michigan. So that's kind of his story.
Awesome. Manu, going back to, before you started playing football, tell me a little bit about, your athletic background, what you were doing beforehand, and how you got into football and how you linked up with Brandon to start getting your process going.
Yeah. So like Brandon said, I come from a soccer background. I've played soccer for over 10 years, I think. I've also done some track back in the days when I was very young. And my transition to football was because I saw a lot of movies that had some kind of football in it, or I saw YouTube videos like compilations of biggest hits or whatever. And I thought that was really interesting. So I went to a practice with my best friend, and I decided to just stay there. He unfortunately stopped going, but yeah, that's how I found football. And like Brandon said, Max, he kind of came up with it, and he was like, you could try to play football in America. You could actually do it. And then he brought me into contact with Brandon, and we go from there. So yeah.
So, Manu, you don't look like a soccer player at all. You look like a football player. Like we were saying before we started recording, you have these broad shoulders. And I said, man, you're looking like Superman. And you actually have a Superman action figure right next
Yeah.
to you. Show us the action figure and how
Yeah.
you came to get that. How did
Uh,
you get the Superman?
so apparently, if you parents at my current team thought that I kind of look like Superman, and they decided to get me this gift of a Superman. So that's how I ended up having a Superman.
Man, so I nailed it with that comparison. But
Yes.
Brandon, tell me a little bit about getting Manu for the first time once you started working with him, and how much progression you've seen over the past few years from that first session that you had with him to now, as he gets ready to head off to Michigan.
Man, I would say the most important things is one thing that Manuel got going for him is he has a very supportive family. As we got an academy that they signed him up for, so he was working through us for a couple years through our academy. So I mean, they could have not let him do it, and who knows where he'll be today. But since they was able to sign him up through our academy, he was talking to coaches, he was learning about the game, learning different techniques through our academy, and it kind of really took off from there. Just the process of, like I said, having them supportive parents, especially, I mean, coming from a background of not knowing American football, but every kid need that if they want to make it far. So I would say that was the biggest thing that he had going for him. Also, the work ethic. I mean, a kid that, I mean, every time that I say I got a camp or something somewhere, he showed up to work, man. So that was the biggest thing, and I just think that it's not. I mean, of course, you got talented kids everywhere, but he has a unique skill set that most don't got, and I just think his unique skill set with our academy, then him actually end up going to in high school that developed him. Also, I mean, I think all that goes in hand of getting him to Michigan.
So Manu, you also had 2 years of high school football in America as you transferred over to Choate, which is one of the premier private school programs in the Northeast. Tell me a little bit about what you've kind of picked up at Choate over the last couple of years, how comfortable you've grown with the game of football, especially because I don't know if you remember, but I was at your first high school game in the United States. And I was almost at your last one too. So how much have you kind of progressed from the first time I saw you until now?
So first of all, like schematics and just how the game is played. I think I've taken a huge step there, just because I played O-line my first year and got to understand a lot of the what's going on at the line, and then played defensive line my second year. So I was able to just use my knowledge from playing offensive line, which was huge. And I think I've also grown in just getting technique and playing better competition and just getting used to competing every day. And yeah, those are my big takeaways.
How, sticking with you, Manu, how difficult was it to get adjusted to not just playing football in America, but getting used to the school system, talking English every day, just, overall culture, the food? I mean, how crazy was it to make that move from Germany to over to the US?
I mean, yeah, it was crazy in the beginning. I had a few fails when I started just talking English, and some of my friends still make fun of me for that, but that's okay. You learn the best when you fail. So yeah, it was difficult, just because I've also never lived alone before, so that was a new thing for me. But since I've had such great support with the team and the teachers, and everyone was so supportive, that I think the transition went very well and very quickly.
Brandon, tell me a little bit about Manu's game, just in general, his overall strengths, what you think he's going to bring to the table at the next level.
Yeah, I mean, again, I probably say this about plenty kids, but I mean, this is probably the only kid I think I say this about is his physical attributes is really second to none that I think I seen at this moment. Just a kid that's that size with low body fat and just the potential that he could put. I mean, like I say, he's 290 now, man. He could be all the way up 315 and running like you got. What's the big kid that's the D tackle, right? That chased the guy down from Michigan, man. He's got that type of
And
athletic ability. Yeah, he got that type of athletic ability and speed, and I think that with Coach Elston, how he develops guys, man, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, of course, I'm shooting for the moon with him, but if he's not a first round pick in 3 4 years, I mean, I just say I wouldn't be surprised if he a first round draft pick one day. I mean, I think he could have been just as good as an old lineman or even better, to be honest with you. But I think from a D lineman, I'm a former D lineman, so I love that he's playing D lineman. But I just think it's very rare to find somebody 6'5", 290 pounds that could bend and move the way he does. So I'm expecting, of course, man, Michigan got a talented group coming back next year. So if he don't play next year, I mean, it's not the biggest thing, but I'm looking for 2 to 3 years from now. I think Manuel could be a star.
So, Manu, you obviously camped at Michigan, like Brandon said. Coming off the sickness, you did enough to wow Mike Elston and the rest of the coaching staff. What did it mean to you that day to get an offer from Michigan?
Honestly, it meant everything because it just seemed so far away from Germany, and even thinking about getting an offer was like it was not real. It didn't feel realistic at the time. So actually getting an offer was surreal and just mind blowing. And I still get goosebumps when I think about it. So yeah, it was definitely a surreal experience.
Sticking with you, you committed to Michigan soon after that camp. What was it about Michigan? Why Michigan? And why'd you stay with them too? And you had Georgia come in, you had Penn State, Texas A&M come in as well. So it's not like you were just an under the radar guy. You had other big programs after you. So what was it about Michigan that made you commit and made you stay with them throughout the process?
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I didn't know that much about Michigan at the time that I committed, but I just felt like it was the right choice. And the culture that I had experienced up until that point was something that I really liked. And I think that was part of what made me commit. And I stuck with Michigan because I think they're just so consistent and so good with developing players, especially D tackles. And I think that's just a perfect fit for me.
Brandon, how do you see him fitting in at Michigan? You mentioned you've had players go there in the past. So how do you think Manu's going to do up in Ann Arbor?
Yeah, like I said, Michigan is one of them programs really good for a European kid just because the academics standards is very high, and I mean most of the European kids do well in school anyway. So and they take the education very serious, and also from a football standpoint, Coach Harbaugh very people's person you could talk to. Coach Elston, I mean, I just think that, and also we have Amir Kumba from France that's there as well. I just think that it's one of the best fits that he could have had. You know what I mean? Me and him actually took a visit to Georgia together. I just really wanted to show him what another school looked like, although he loved it. But at the end of the day, you could see in his heart and his eyes that Michigan was that place for him.
Yeah, Manu, I know another factor in your decision to stick with Michigan through everything was Coach Mike Elston. He was the guy that offered you as well. Tell me about your relationship with Coach Elston and how much you're looking forward to playing under him.
Yeah, I think we have a great relationship. We can talk about stuff, and I'm just really looking forward to work with him because he's just showed that he can develop me. I've practiced with him in the camp, and the way he coached was really helpful for me. I learned a lot during that camp, and I just can't wait to start working with him.
Brandon, tell me about your relationship with Mike Elston, because I know it extends back to his time at Notre Dame. He's a guy that's always believed in recruiting overseas. So what can you tell me about that, connection you've built with Elston?
I mean, he did two things that I never seen done before in the recruiting process. Well, I'll take that back. Nick Saban, to be honest with you, he recruits like Nick Saban. Not, I wouldn't say Michigan recruits like Nick Saban. I'm speaking to Mike Elston personally, or he didn't know Manuel or he didn't know Alexander Aaron, but they didn't have any offers beforehand. And he went off his eye judgment to offer him a scholarship. He didn't ask, did Ohio State offer him? He asked, did Georgia offer him? They was his basically first offer for both of the kids that I sent to Mike Elston. So that speaks for itself where he evaluates, like I said, I compare it to Nick Saban because every time I took the kid to Alabama, it would never ask who offered the kid prior or anything. So that's kind of a special to me. That means they trust their eye, they trust their evaluation more than anybody else. So that in itself, like that, we have a great relationship. Man, I know his wife as well. Like I said, she supports what we doing overseas as well, man. So I'm a big believer in him and in his development.
Awesome. So, Manu, we're going to do a few rapid fire questions to get to know you a little bit, and then we'll end this interview with one final question for each of you guys. So for this part, Manu, it's more getting to know you. So first of all, just tell us a little bit about you away from the field. What are some of your interests, things you like to do when you're not playing football?
I mean, I like to hang out with friends. I think everyone does. I like to read sometimes. I'm a big fan of action novels. And yeah.
Well, you obviously watch some movies as well because you said that
Yeah.
got you into football. What
I think,
movie do you remember watching where you were like, "Oh, football seems pretty cool"?
sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, what movie do you remember watching where you saw football being played and being like, "Oh, that looks kind of cool"?
Yeah, so the movie name is When the Game Stands Tall. I think it's not even that popular, but I just love it. So yeah.
Okay. Now, you did come from Germany over to America. The food is bigger and more fattening. But what do you think is the best American food that you've had?
Chicken parm. I love chicken parm.
Chicken parm. Okay. Gotcha. I mean, I thought you were going to go with a regular hamburger, even though I guess that kind of originated in Germany. But, yeah, you don't seem really interested in the hamburgers. But I guess when you go to Michigan, what are you planning to study and what do you maybe want to do after football ends?
So I'm going as undecided, but I hope that I can find my way to the business school, and maybe do something business related after college.
Like you said, you played soccer. Germany is obviously a proud soccer country with Miroslav Klose and Thomas Müller and all these big names. What's the biggest difference to you between playing soccer and playing football? And also, how are they similar?
Biggest difference, I'd say the physicality, and similar. You need to like be very aware of your feet, and I think that's pretty similar in football and in soccer.
Awesome. So we'll end this with one final question. So it's going to be the same question. We'll start off with you, Manu. Where do you see yourself at Michigan in 3 to 4 years?
I mean, I see myself playing, having grown into a very good football player.
Brandon, where do you see Manu in 3 to 4 years at Michigan?
Yeah, so one thing I'm gonna tell the Michigan fans: don't expect Manuel to talk so much. He gonna let his pass do the talking. But now I definitely see him developing into a potential NFL player. I mean, again, I just think he just got rare ability, and hopefully, I'm sure he believes in himself. But I think that he could be the next NFL draft pick from Michigan in 3 to 4 years.
Awesome, guys. I appreciate y'all for joining me, and congrats again, Manu, on signing with Michigan.
Thank you.
Thank you, EJ.